Welcome to Reto Makua, a people-centered podcast. I am your host, Kgosi. In today's episode, on our series on green hydrogen, we explore the question of land and investigate the importance of consent and meaningful engagement of communities in relation to green hydrogen.
Yes, I have information that the people must move in. As my family, we don't move it. No, we can't move. There is no water. I think our leruo la rena le tlo goa.
Since we came here, we lost our plowing fields, we lost our grazing fields, we lost our heritages, we lost a lot of things. Even our ancestral area of prayer, such as mountains, fountains.
So in terms of our advocacy campaign, we emphasize the issue of, or a principle per se, of free, prior, informed consent, in which whereby when the mine comes to every community, or if they want to engage in every project, they need to consult the communities meaningful. When they are informed about this operation, about any project from the mine, then they can able to offer their consent if necessary.
The episode is part of a series on green hydrogen produced by the Mining Affected Communities United in Action and Women Affected by Mining United in Action, or Makua and Wamua. This is a social justice movement that has a stronghold and organizes communities affected by mining activities in South Africa. Makua Wamua is part of a network of civil society organizations known as Green Hydrogen Watch. The network monitors and shares insights and experiences on the development of green hydrogen in South Africa to help communities engage meaningfully with green hydrogen with clear understanding of what it is. The world over, climate change is our lived reality, and the move towards renewable energy has never been more urgent. However, there is fear that the transition, particularly here in South Africa, when it comes, will maintain or exacerbate conditions of dispossession and reproduce injustices that prevail, such as landlessness, water scarcity, inequality, energy apartheid, and poverty. The issue of land in the transition to renewable energy and production of green hydrogen is important, but also a sensitive one. South Africa's economy, particularly the minerals energy complex, will not be what it is today without cheap African labor and the violent dispossessions of Africans, facilitated by the Natives Land Act of 1913. The post-apartheid land reform program to address this injustice has completely failed. What is unfortunate is that new forms of violent land dispossession are becoming a norm. For example, communities like Malebane in Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal in KwaZulu-Natal have faced repression in their resistance to extractivist mining and development that does not speak to their vision of development. Through media exposés and social audit reports from organizations like Makua Wamua, Action 8 in the mid-2000s and subsequent reports by the South African Human Rights Commission indicate that these issues are also prevalent in Mogalakwena municipal area. Issues of land dispossessions, relocations of graves, and resettlement of people. Consequently, this has led to feelings of anger and distrust towards large-scale mining taking place in the community. In context of the proposed development of green hydrogen, which will use renewable energy, we engage a community member and traditional leader about the land struggles in the area. We also got to engage a community activist and legal practitioner on communities' rights of being engaged meaningfully. One of the things that emerged during the door-to-door community surveys conducted by Makua Wamua in Skimming, one of the villages close to the mining operations of Anglo-American Platinum Mine, is that the community is facing eviction. People's homes could be reduced to rubble as the mine expands its operations. I spoke to one resident, Petunia Matsaba, who remains resilient that she and her family will not move.
I'm Petunia Matsaba from Skimming, 36 years old. Yes, I have information that the people must move in. As my family, we don't move it. No, we can't move because we don't have water. And then we got the place where I am the person who did go to see the place. It's not a nice place. We can't make a farm. And if we are going to them, if we have a goat or cow, there is no water. I think our leruo la rena le tlo goa. And that place is a very, very, is much stones, yes. It's not a good place. I came from to see it. I saw that place. It's not good. And then I decided with my mother, we are not going anywhere. Because man, they said when we are moving here, they give us a voucher, 1,500 only for 1 year. And then now I'm a child. Even at the home, we are not eating 1.5 per month. It's too small.
And did the mine say that they would build houses or they will compensate you for moving you?
Yes, they did, but they didn't. They came with a plan of the house. If you have a sharks container, you got 3 room and 6 room and double garage. So, but they did come with the plans, but we didn't sign anything. They just come and see, like that dish. Here is your house, but we didn't sign anything. So I'm not sure if they can do it or they just telling us lies like every time.
You know, how significant is Lefatsi Koruna to your family? Are graves here, and does it mean you'll be far away from your graves if you move?
Yes, we'll be far from our relatives, like Matlo, and our graves. Yeah, will be so far.
Lefatsi, how important is it to you?
Lefatsi la borona le important because before Nerizwala, we was planting was no like very le the fruity, le the veg. Yeah, very sokole. We are not suffering, but now we are suffering because even if now you can see our soil have a oil leather down. If you plant something, it takes time to grow up. Even the cabbages are just jwala di mele like.
My name is Malesela, Johannes Malebane. I am a traditional leader of Malebane community. Malebane community, it's a community which was relocated by the mine from Malebane, Motlotlo, over Rizal, farm number 815.
We speak to Kgosi Malebane, who is a traditional leader of Malebane. The Malebane kingdom has been in the area as far back as the 17th century. The community has been relocated from their old village to a new settlement. We speak with Malebane at the new settlement, where he shares the experience of relocation, the impact it has had on their cultural identity and access to basic services.
One thing that I may say is that to our old village, life was better without the mine. Since we have moved from the old village coming here, the life has changed because of the interference of the mining company to the communities, which they are dictating terms and conditions, how we should live around our community. Even our neighbors, the Langas, they found us here in 17th century when they arrived here in around 1779. And even on their documents, they used to say they've conquered us. And since indeed they conquered us during that time, even during the government of apartheid, even today during the government of democracy, we are still feeling the oppression of being conquered.
What does that entail in terms of them having conquered, this place? What does that mean?
It means we don't have say. We are a subject of oppression at all costs. Even today, I may say to you, the mine is here, it's operating, it's digging holes, they are exhuming platinums to feed their own countries. But we, as a small community and our surroundings, we suffer like we don't have a big giant of Anglo-American within ourselves. Especially when you look at how many minerals are they taking out of our land. They are here for only platinum. But at the end of the day, they are pocketing another 7 or 12 minerals without disclosing them to us and without disclosing how much money they are making. with those extras they got.
From being moved to this particular village, how will you describe that process? What was lost, in terms of people's farms, cattle, heritage? What was lost when you guys were moved to this village for mining purposes?
Since we came here, we lost our plowing fields, we lost our grazing fields, we lost our heritages, we lost a lot of things. Even our ancestral area of prayer, such as mountains, fountains, we have lost everything. And we used to complain to the mine, even to the government, with no response from the government side, especially the DMRE, South African Heritage Resources Agency. Those are the people whom we then go to them seeking help, seeking protection from them with no proper response. Even today, our matter has stuck at the hands of South African human rights, not human rights, but Heritage Resources Agency. Even the very same human rights resources also, we have forwarded our complaint. As long as you complain about the mine, no one will listen to you because the mine, I don't know, maybe they are giving some bribery to those people to not to listen to our complaint.
And what has been the impact, of the mine on the environment of this place in terms of water? And as someone who grew up in this area, how was the water access before the mining operations? Because I'm told this area is called Waterberg. Was there abundance of water before, and the mine has had some impact perhaps in the water being scarce?
Our heritages has been destroyed by Anglo-American. Mountains whom are protected by the law also has been dumped. The mine dumped the waste rock on top of a big mountain of lot of natures. That mountain we complain about, the name is Letsoke Mountain. In every year of that mountain, there is a special sound that comes on top of that mountain every year. When there is a year of raining, whether it's gonna be a harsh rainy season then that mountain give us the signal by giving away a huge sound with every sounds of cattle, donkeys, chickens. There's gonna be a lot of sound. That communication to us of our ancestral has been destroyed by the mine. And I've informed Sarah about it. Nothing is taking place. Since we are here, we never had enough water to sustain us. I may say this. Look, when we've been recruited to relocate here, we were promised that we are going to have water, enough running water, everything will be according to standard. But since we are here, even today, there is no water within our taps. And then there is contractors whom they are employed to provide us with water. But because of the poor plenary from the beginning of the mine, there is no enough water to sustain us as communities around the mine.
And how important is it to include the community in these processes whenever you're approached by, companies like Anglo? How important is it to always think with the community and engage the community and include them in the decision process?
Should you include the community, in other words, you've got the right people who are supposed to take resolutions. And even for the future of the upcoming community to be protected, you need to have their fathers and mothers whom they are aware about the future of their coming members of their families. So it is very much important indeed to include them. And in some instances, decisions are taken within the offices with few people. whom when they established, they say they are the representative, of which at the end of the day, they don't come to take the mandate from the very people whom they said they are representing. That is the sad part of people using um, um, committees to represent. At the end, they abandon the real people. They end up doing their own stuff. Like in our instances, many, when they supposed to protect the rights of the communities, they end up looking for the business opportunities for themselves inside the mines. That's when the problem started within the communities.
And on the transition to building a green energy and sustainable energy, moving away from coal and dealing with issues of load shedding, government has earmarked this area to spearhead the projects of green energy. And I'm told that Anglo America is a big truck that operates with green hydrogen. Do you think that process of producing power, in a sustainable way that will happen here will benefit the community?
Only if the correct agreement are entered into, that will then benefit the communities. But in most instances, when the contractors are drafted, they tend to do a lot of wrong things, forgetting the right people, which is the communities around those projects. So for that, indeed, the green area is something that currently everybody is looking at it as a solution, especially even though I'm not an economist, but when you see at the economy of our country going down like this because of this load shedding, indeed, green area is the solution towards every successful whatever you want in your country. For us also, it's something which we are looking at it, but it must not being forced inside the people's premises. It must be, we still have a land where we can then place it there, which we are not going to interfere with the placement, even is not going to interfere with us. Then that is something that we are looking at it as a solution to us. But it must not be inside our premises, so closer by 50 meters from us. It must be a little bit far away from us, at least some 5 kilometers or others.
And what are your hopes, and wishes as a leader of the people of this community, having faced a lot of challenges, even some death threats?
I think, firstly, we need to do things right better by having a right on our land, even a right to our own minerals. That will give me a hope that in future we can be a better people. But without having a right to our minerals, we don't have any hope. I don't know if someone may claim that someone from other continent may come here to develop you. We are the one who must develop ourselves by using the resources that we've got it. So indeed, without those resources, without having rights, without having a fair share from those resources, I don't think we will be able to develop ourselves. But as I am saying, we are looking to get a fair share of the minerals that are being taken away from our forefathers' land and being processed somewhere and creating jobs somewhere while we are dying, while it was supposed to be creating jobs here where we are, next to us, for us to know how to process it, even to manufacture whatever is needed by the world.
That was Kgosi MJ Malebane. Now I speak to Makua Wamua, project lead on green hydrogen. Our interview takes place at the streets of Braamfontein, and he explains to me the significance of understanding free, prior, and informed consent as communities educate themselves about developments like green hydrogen that is linked to the just energy transition.
My name is Lindokuhle David Nene, and I serve in the legal unit of Makua, as well as the Green Hydrogen Project Lead.
Just tell me a bit about Makua and also the work that you do with green hydrogen.
Well, Makua is a radical social movement which represents the mining-affected communities in the whole of South Africa. And it looks to extend its radicalness to African countries who suffers from these exploitative and corporate companies. So we do go straight to the ground, share issues of the communities, and able to get patterns or ultiminum or alternatives for their issues, and also seeks to protect their overall marginalized rights inherited in the Constitution of South Africa, as well as the MPRDA, which is the Mineral Petroleum Resource Development Act.
And, that work, around mines and mining communities, how does it, come about that Makua is involved with green hydrogen project?
Well, the core part of it was the issue of consultation, right? As you know, that green hydrogen is a very specific and delicate issue in South Africa. And government at some point wanted to adapt it. But of course, when you adapt such a rare an issue, you need to capacitate the core people who are at some point likely to be affected from this production of green hydrogen. So along our engagement in Mokopane specifically, we found that Anglo-American Mogalakwena mine plans to produce a green hydrogen electricity through its platinum, right? So along our engagement, we found that part of the conversation, the communities are not involved in those engagement around green hydrogen. So that's when Makua came in to have continuous and wide workshop around what is actually green hydrogen, what are the ABCD of green hydrogen, and also call upon other organizations to assist in terms of capacity, also to assist around research, specifically in green hydrogen in South Africa.
And how important is it, the question of consultation and consent of communities, especially with the transition from, hazardous forms of energy to green forms of energy?
Well, the question of consultation remains inherent and paramount. I can tell you from post-apartheid, when you want to engage in anything, be it business or be it things that disrupt my traditions, you need to come and engage with me meaningful. So in these instances, the communities need to be engaged or need to be consulted meaningfully in relation to the operations that are happening in their communities. This was reiterated or emphasized by Court of Law in Baleni matter and Olubelu matter, in which whereby the Pretoria High Court said that mining companies should engage and consult with the affected communities in a manner in which is meaningful, as much as they have an interest to these operations.
And just from your experience of doing door-to-door, what is the general feel? I understand that you're still working with the data, but what is the general sentiment that is coming out of the door-to-door data collection?
Well, my brother, it's sad today to witness that communities are still marginalized, excluded, and not being consulted. When we were conducting a door-to-door last week in Mokopane and Mapela villages, it was sad to receive some of the news to the communities that to date the mine do not meaningfully consult with them. Now the question comes to you to say, what is meaningful consultation, or how do these people have to be consulted? The communities in Mokopane are mostly people who don't understand the things of today, right? Or they are not so privileged to understand the technology and so on. So on this interpretation of this Baleni case, the court emphasized the issue of notification. How do you then communicate with these people? you need to communicate with them in a manner which is traditional to them, in a manner which is usual to them. So the door-to-door process gave us some of the enlightenment that our communities are still excluded and there's still marginalization from these mining communities.
What are some of the legal recourse for communities that feel left behind, not consulted by mining communities in instances like this one?
Well, in our workshops, we run a constructive workshop in which whereby we teach or we discharge capacity building for communities to be organized first. And also, once they are organized, they can develop an advocacy campaigns, be it they are going to look on the legal avenues or any avenues available on the ground to challenge these mining companies. So we do aim that once we have had at least a document inherited that shows and complements what we have had from the door-to-door and also what was extracted from door-to-door, brings a campaign or brings a decisive actions from those outcomes in fighting these corporate mining companies into this corporate immunity.
And my last question, what was your general feel about the conditions that people live under in Mogalakwena and some of the practices of the mine in the past? Do you think those patterns will play themselves out with this green hydrogen where communities continue to be marginalized? So what was your general feel about the conditions in that community?
Well, I will say confidently that communities remain despondent and at times they remain discouraged to even, get themselves up. So my general opinion at this stage, I think they are living with no choice, unfortunately. And the despondency comes in the lack of this mine not showing care to them. And you would know that when mining companies operate within these communities, they at least need to consult with them regularly, basically, and that's an inherent rule. And that consultation goes in hand to check their livelihood and to check how they are doing in this surrounding operation. So generally, I don't think they are doing very great. Like I'm saying, they live with no choice, and it's about surviving at the end of the day.
And just your last word on consent, how important, for projects to be successful, or even communities' right to say no or yes. How important is that right for communities?
It's very crucial and important, and I think it does have to be adopted in terms of South African law or into MPRDA. You would remember that in terms of MPRDA, the law does not say that the mining company should get a consent from the communities in doing their operation, but it emphasizes the issue of consultation. So in terms of our advocacy campaign, we emphasize the issue of, or a principle per se, of free, prior, informed consent, in which whereby when the mine comes to every community, or if they want to engage in every project, they need to consult the communities meaningful. When they are informed about this operation, about any project from the mine, then they can able to offer their consent if necessarily.
That was Lindokuhle David Nene of Makua Wamua. This podcast series, produced in partnership with Action Aid International, is available on our website at www.makua.org.za. And wherever you get your podcast, do follow Makua Wamua on social media for more content on the work we do. I am your host, Musa Wenkusi. Take care.